Hello and welcome back to Immigration News and Views. My name is David Nachman. I'm one of the managing attorneys at the Nachman Fawani Zimochek Law Office. We have offices in Ridgewood, New Jersey, an office in Midtown Manhattan. We also have an affiliated office in India, and we have an affiliated office in Canada. And one of the very frequent questions which we get from our clients who are doing marriage cases has to do with the bona fides of the marital relationship. And oftentimes we're asked, what documentation can we show in order to demonstrate the bona fides of the marital relationship? And first of all, what bona fides means in Latin is the good faith. So the government is going to be essentially on the lookout to see whether or not there are certain types of documents, but it's not just the documents that make a marriage case. And so oftentimes we tell our clients and prospective clients that it's not just what you say and it's not just what you show, but it also has to do with how you do that. So there are oftentimes nonverbal cues that the officers are looking for. For example, when I have people who come to my office who are interested in doing a marriage case, if they come in and sit at our conference room table and they're the husband's sitting on one side of the table and the wife is sitting on the other, I have to think that something is up. Of course, either they're angry at each other or something is going on with the marriage. So there are these things that are called nonverbal cues. And the officers who work for the USCIS, they're also familiar with nonverbal cues. So one of the things that they like to do is they like to judge whether or not individuals are married depending upon how they sit in front of the officer. Do they lean into each other? If a spouse reaches over and touches his wife's leg, is she comfortable with that? So there are nonverbal cues which you have to be very in tune to. That's number one. But number two, which is super important also, are the documents that you bring. What documents help to demonstrate the bona fides of the marital relationship? Well, of course, the most important one is the marriage certificate. And so oftentimes marriage certificates, from localities are good to show, but also, is that marriage certificate from Las Vegas? Is it a marriage certificate from outside the country? Is it one of those marriage certificates that is somewhat questionable? So often, you have to look at whether or not there is going to be an issue that's raised by the marriage certificate that the individuals show. And of course, it's always recommended that you consult with competent legal counsel to discuss whether or not the issue of where you might have been married and obtained that marriage certificate may raise a red flag. But other types of bona fides documents that we would look for example, would be utility bills that are addressed to the husband and the wife. And those utility bills, of course, should have on them the address, which matches, of course, the driver's license of the husband and wife. And of course, most importantly, the husband and wife should, have driver's license that is the same address in the same state. If they don't, of course, you have to have a good reason why it's not that way, and you have to be ready to present that reason to the officer. Other bona fides types of documents include credit card statements addressed to the husband and wife. Oftentimes we tell the husband and wife to carry with them the credit cards to their interview to show that the numbers on the two credit cards are the same and that the husband and the wife use the same credit card account. And that shows joint marital assets, which again is demonstrative of the bona fides of the marital relationship. Another example of a bona fides document might be that if the husband or the wife has medical insurance, that they name their spouse as a dependent on that insurance policy. So again, that goes to the fact that they have joint financial responsibility. Other things are the joint tax returns. We highly recommend that husbands and wives file joint tax returns. Of course, when you have situations where individuals get married at a certain time in the year and the returns don't have to be filed jointly, again, have an explanation as to why they're not being filed jointly. Oftentimes, if they don't have to file a joint tax return but the individuals are married, we'll try to encourage the accountant to write a letter to say that next year's plan would be to file a joint tax return for the two individuals and that the accountant has already been consulted with regard to the potential tax benefits of a joint filing over the previous non-joint filing that may have been done. Of course, we're not suggesting this evidence be created. What we're suggesting, of course, is that this is evidence which might be helpful in an interview if the accountant is willing to put that together. Other types of bona fides documents include lease agreements, mortgage papers, photographs of the husband and the wife together, and these photographs, of course, can be photographs that predate the marriage and show a long track record of relationship between the husband and the wife. Other types of evidence which our staff absolutely loves are love letters, which are exchanged between the two staff, or emails that are exchanged between the husband and the wife. And other types of documentation could be that texts or cell phone calls between the two spouses. So these are all ideas for evidence that demonstrate the bona fides of the marital relationship. And again, this becomes an issue actually in two places in the marriage case. First, when you first submit the case, you'll want to include some documentation of the bona fides of the marital relationship right up front. Second, when you're going to the interview, you're going to want to include more documentation to demonstrate the bona fides of the marital relationship. And once again, I guess in the third place in the case where you would again want to re-demonstrate the bona fides of the marital relationship is when you file the I-751 application, the joint application to lift the conditions on residence. So throughout the marriage relationship, when you're married to a foreign national, it's always a good idea to keep in your mind what paper can be obtained to show to the government to demonstrate the bona fides of the marital relationship. If you or any member of your family or any of your friends or relatives need assistance with regard to marriage cases, please feel free to contact any of the lawyers at the NPZ Law Group. We're more than happy to assist you. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye now.